Welcome to a brief analysis video over the events that have happened in the last 24 to 48 hours, where we had a Ukrainian surface-to-surface missile named Neptune strike a Russian warship, a major, large, very capable cruiser in the Black Sea. So we're going to go over what we know so far, what are the capabilities of these systems, what are the limitations, and why was a command and control cruiser bristling with weapons, radars, defenses, and electronic warfare able to be defeated by a subsonic missile that has its origins really in the 1970s and 80s. All right, so this is the Neptune versus the Moskva. All right, first let's talk about the Neptune R360 MC. MC is the naval version of this missile. There are going to be three different types eventually. The one we're talking about today is a shore-launched version. They will have a naval version, like I said, and there's also going to be an air-launched version eventually. But here's a picture of it, kind of low-res. But one thing that stood out to me as soon as I saw this is the fins. The guiding fins are very similar to the Harpoon. The overall size and shape, very similar to the American Harpoon. And that booster rocket that they have there is definitely a Harpoon booster rocket. So while they claim that this weapon is 100% indigenously made by Ukraine, I believe them, but they clearly took inspiration from both a Russian missile and an American missile. And we'll go over both of those. So in Ukraine, this anti-ship missile was announced in 2013. Back then, it didn't have a name. When it was tested in 2016 and announced to the press with press wheels, that was when it was given name Neptune. It has a subsonic range of just over 260 kilometers, and it cruises about 10 to 15 meters above the sea until it gets to a terminal point where it then goes down to just about 5 meters off the water, still subsonic, towards its target. So these Neptune operations are conducted from shore with these vehicles, these transport erector launchers. And the Ukrainian version of this launcher at this time, they have 2x2 packs for a total of 4 missiles, and they are deployed across 6 vehicles for a total of 24 missiles. And so it carries 145 kilogram, high explosive fragmentation warhead. Like the Harpoon, it's internally guided or inertially guided. And then it has a radar terminal homing phase at the very end where it can discriminate its own target and go after it. So it's a, you can give it a waypoint. You can tell it to turn at some point. It's got some of those capabilities there. But in the end, when it turns on its radar, it's looking for its own target at the end. And again, this is a big national pride project for Ukraine. They completely did this themselves, even though you can clearly see that it has inspiration from a Russian missile called the KH-35, which is what we call the Harpoonsky, because they basically took the American Harpoon design and made a Russian version of it. And this Ukraine version looks a lot like the Russian version, which came from the Harpoon version. So there's a lot of inspiration going on here. All right, let's talk about the Slava-class cruiser real quick. This particular one was commissioned in 1982. She is the lead ship in a 3-ship series. They wanted to build more than 3, but then the collapse of the Soviet Union happened, and they only built 3 of these. One of these is in the Black Sea. The other 2 are in the Mediterranean at the time of this recording. But this one operates out of the Black Sea normally. She was seen off the coast of Syria in 2013, 2014. And so she's been in that part of the world since then. She's 186 meters long, 20 meters of beam, pretty big girl. She has a co-GOG system, which is a combined gas and gas turbine propulsion system. So you have 2 gas turbines, one for each shaft, that are very fuel efficient, but only go to a certain speed. If you want to get max performance in terms of speed out of a co-GOG system, you have to turn on the second set of boost turbines, and you'll get up to 32 knots, but you'll get very low fuel efficiency. That gobbles up fuel quick, but it's the only way to get to 32 knots is to use your boost turbines. So combined gas or gas turbines. Okay, 100 or 11K cruiser is an anti-carrier mission. That's what the primary weapon is of this, is to shoot these very large sea-skimming missiles called SSN-12 sandboxes and overwhelm an Aegis defense sphere around an American fleet, eventually getting to the carrier and destroying it. These are very large missiles. They are supersonic. They're very fast, and they're designed to kill carriers. As far as electronic warfare goes, she's pretty capable. She has multiple systems for defeating incoming missiles, like Rum Tub, Bell Crown, and Bell Push are all different systems that kind of work together to protect the Slava. So here is the Slava in profile. Here you can see a lot of her weapon systems. You can see all but one here. So starting at the bow with number 1, that's a twin AK 130 millimeter cannon. It's got 2 barrels. That's why it's a twin. There are 16 SN-12 sandbox anti-ship cruise missiles there. You see canted facing forward. And I've walked the decks of the Marshal Ustinov when it was in Boston Harbor in 1994 during a Goodwill visit, again after the fall of the Soviet Union. And I can tell you she's big. These missiles are huge. You know, I described them as being like intercontinental ballistic missiles laid on their side. Not quite that big, but they are formidably large, these launchers. Now, on the bow there, you see a couple things besides the main gun. Just behind it with number 3, that is a 2x12 RBU 6000. That's rocket bomb unit. They are shot in a direction, Alta 6,000 meters or less, and they're designed to be basically depth charges. They go down. Anything that they detect, you know, through impact or magnetic, if they have that fuse on it, they'll just explode. And they shoot them 12 at a time. They have 6 on the starboard side, 6 in like this half moon launcher, so a total of 12. And the idea is to ring a target and then explode the RBUs around the target, displacing the water and sinking the submarine. There's claims that they use this as an anti-torpedo weapon. I have no reason why they wouldn't be able to do that, other than you'd have to be very lucky to actually hit a torpedo with this thing, because it is ballistic. And its fire control is simply point and shoot. It's not calculating any kind of intercept. Anyway, but the primary air defense here, because this ship could be a command ship, which it is in the Black Sea, and it could also defend a fleet, is the SN-6 Grumble anti-air defense. This is a naval version of the S-300, and it is a proven and very capable anti-air system. And if this ship were to come under attack by a subsonic missile, this is the weapon that they would primarily use to defend itself. And it makes one wonder why it wasn't employed in today's event. But if it was employed, it was ineffective. That's all we know, is that they either didn't see the attack coming, which is highly unlikely considering the capability of the systems on board this ship, or the air defense capability of the SSN-6 and the SN-4 Gecko, which is a short-range but highly accurate version of air defense, of an anti-air missile. They were ineffective. They did not defend the ship for whatever reason effectively. We don't know a lot of things. Like, we don't know how many missiles were launched. We know that the Ukrainians can deploy their surface-to-surface missile teams from 1 to 6 trucks, each holding 4 missiles. So 4 to 24 missiles could have been employed. We don't know. It might have been 1 missile, We do know that the weather was really bad at the time of the attack. It was rainy. It was nighttime. Winds were at 18 knots. That's a very high sea state. Could have some seasick sailors on watch, not paying attention. Not offering excuses, just all these factors play into why the ship was struck with missiles. And then finally, one thing that's not shown here is back by the helideck, but on the hull of the ship, there are doors that open up, and they have 5 across torpedo launchers. So 5 torpedo tubes, 5 starboard, 5 port. They'll shoot a 53 centimeter torpedo, a heavyweight torpedo out the side. So this ship is bristling with weapons and capability. It's good at defending itself. It's good for offensive capabilities, and has the communication suites to coordinate a fleet. So it could be a command ship as well. This ship apparently was struck by no less than 1 missile. We think multiple missiles, but at least one Neptune missile, according to Ukraine. I should say now, before we go any further, Russia denies that they were even attacked. But Russia has lied about everything. So anything that they deny, I implicitly think that it's the opposite. That's why I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the Ukrainians. Plus, we know that the ship was damaged at some point, set afire, and the crew, after putting the fire out, apparently, according to Russia, they then abandoned ship, and this ship is now under tow back to port. We don't know which port. I speculate Sevastopol, because that's where a lot of repair facilities are. But the point is, a Slava-class cruiser has been put out of commission by a Neptune missile. And just here are just a quick recap of what I've talked about. Poor weather conditions, 18 knots. Ukraine fired an unknown number of missiles. We don't know. They won't tell us, and it's none of our business, I guess. But what is baffling to me is how they hit this ship with all of its capability. Like, multiple systems either weren't used or not powered on, or watchstanders weren't paying attention. Like, any one of those things could have caused this. And maybe it's all of those things. Maybe this ship is, not fully operational. All that is speculation on my part. I don't know. But what we do know is this ship was hit with a modern subsonic, based on a Harpoon design, roughly, anti-ship missile. And it should have easily defeated it. And it didn't. It's another baffling failure of the Russian military that has been lauded as being so great, and being defeated by a subsonic missile in 2022 reveals the true condition of the Russian Navy. It's not in a good state. I will point out here, this is the door I was talking about. This door here opens up. There's torpedo tubes in there, and they shoot heavyweight torpedoes out the side here. All right. So yeah, if you have any questions or if you want to make comments, leave them in the chat, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, everybody.